How hard did you push it? Till I black out? Yes. Numerous times, yes.
Our guest tonight is a special place in my heart because, look, we all do a lot of online shopping, but this is the one human being who, when I receive something from him, my girlfriend goes, wait, is that another visor from Sugarloaf? And my response is yes. So our guest tonight is Ian Gilley from Sugarloaf Social Club. Ian, welcome to the pod, man. We're so excited to have you.
Ash and Big Chris, thanks for having me, guys. And yeah, long time coming and glad we can make this work.
Yeah, no, but seriously, you got to stop making fire visors because I wear a size 8 hat. I've got a huge head, and I say I'm done, and then you guys come out with the gingerbread, nutcracker Christmas, and it's like twitchy. Yeah, I get twitchy, and I put it in the cart. Next thing you know, it's here in 2 days. You got to stop.
You're not alone, man. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day. Like the print tour visors are kind of their own like little subculture and machine, and it's so much fun, kind of coming up and finding some of those prints and knowing what's going to work well, and like we try to keep those as kind of tiny runs as possible, and it's folks are ravenous for those for sure, and like it's you're not alone. I mean, we get multiple requests a month, like, hey, can you like not put a Sugarloaf sticker on the outside of that box so my wife doesn't know I got another one, or can you send it to my office instead? Apple Pay accidentally inserted my home address, like do not send there under any circumstances. So it's folks are obsessed, and it's really fun, honestly, to be on our end and to sort of be coming up and delivering joy.
I feel so seen, Ian. Like, this is like, because again, it's one of these things where it's like, I swear I'm not going to. You post it, I buy it, and then it's like, I get like twitchy. But I'm glad to know that there's people who are in the same boat. That's amazing.
Well, the one thing I think me and Ashton both love about it is I come from being a sneakerhead, and kind of that I've been a sneakerhead since I was in high school, 20 plus years, and Ashton's seen my collection of sneakers. It's like I have enough to wear a different pair every day of the year. And so like the quality of gear that you guys put out and the effort that you go through to find really good quality stuff in different things too. I think the variety is really great. I think that's one thing me and Ashton both have kind of fallen in love with what you guys have done on the swag side of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's our rule, sort of like our design rule, and frankly, it's mostly just me, and I have a few partners and kind of one full-time staffer who's handling all the DMs, but they're all pitching in for here and there. But I mean, it's the rule is like, what does Ian want and need? Like, it's I've said this before. I mean, if I need a new white hat, we're making white hats, sort of thing. So I think the variety comes from that sort of just constant, like, looking for new things for myself. And that's been a good sort of roadmap for success. Like, if I'm going to dig it, chances are other folks will too. So yeah, you're right. Like, we don't repeat a lot of stuff. I mean, it's definitely the harder way to do things. But it's, like I said, it's super fun, and thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm curious, Ian, I know this isn't on the rundown, but just specifically about the tour visors before we move on. You talked about the print. So basically, like, do you find the print and then that is how it starts off, or how does that process work for the tour visors?
Yeah, we've made a few of the custom prints ourselves. Of course, you can get custom fabric made, but really there's a few designers of quilting fabrics that I follow obsessively, and 1% of their thousands of designs a year will really like resonate with me, and I'm looking for like kind of sort of super tiny patterns that are of something quirky like sushi or rock stars or dinosaurs or whatever, and it's similar to like how Sugarloaf stuff sells out. Some of these designer fabrics sell out like within minutes, basically. So I kind of have to, as much as people maybe are up on like Sugarloaf drops, like I'm in this like weird like mom quilting world of like finding fabrics basically. And so, and then they don't like rerun these things. And like, for example, like we did some like yellow surfers like 4 years ago, and like I wish I could find those again. Some sharks and those sushi visors we did, they, that's impossible fabric to find. So that's kind of like one of my little sub weird hobbies is the like finding fabric. And sometimes there's nothing out there, and sometimes there's just a whole mine of good stuff. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
Well, outside of the gear that you guys put out, give the listeners a quick rundown on how Sugarloaf came to be and what Sugarloaf actually does outside of drops and gear and things like that.
Definitely. I'll try to make this long story very short. I've told it a million times, but basically, in 2011, it was me and two of my college roommates at Rollins College down in Florida, and we were playing this core Crenshaw course near Orlando called Sugarloaf Mountain, like all the time, and it was one of our favorite places to play. And we were kind of getting sentimental towards the end of our time in college, and I made a suggestion to just kind of put this name, on our tiny friend group and kind of give us incentive to keep in touch after we graduate, went our separate ways. And this was the formation of a social club, just a group of guys who shared a passion for golf. And over the years, we added a few new friends from our various cities and workplaces, and grew to like 18, 20 guys. And it was literally just a private Facebook group and a text message chain for many, many years. And then it around 2015, 2013, decided like, hey, we need a really sick logo. And that's when we came up with that SSC arrow. Put it on some merch. Other people were like, wow, that's really sick. Like, can I get some? And so the merch business sort of just snowballed from there and became a brand, out of literally just some guys making some hats for themselves. And then on the back end of that, I was fortunate enough to meet my business and creative partner, Harrison Lewis, when we were both working on Capitol Hill. And our boss, a congressman from Florida at the time, was retiring at the end of 2016. And, I had worked in golf a little bit, and he was a chief of staff in Congress, and I was a communications director. So we had this jack of all trades sort of resume where we knew kind of how to handle, a brand, how to talk and kind of work with a CEO on image, and, how to communicate with the press and all, photography, videography, websites. So we were like, man, the golf industry is kind of stale when it comes to creative photography and videography and logos. And so, we full stop left Capitol Hill in 2017, got a few clients at the PGA show under our other business, Sugarloaf Creative Lab, and started helping folks with their social media, helping people, source product, helping people acquire other businesses. And really that sort of narrowed down into brand and logo design, which is kind of where we sort of found our lane. And that led us to folks like Pinehurst and Pebble Beach and PJ National and so forth. So, if half my time is spent on the social club gear side of things, the other half is spent behind the scenes helping other brands with various creative needs.
So I've noticed there's a big move in especially modernizing logos. There's a course out here just outside of Portland called Wildwood. They did a really great job of putting out and redoing their logo and kind of modernizing it to something that, reflects the people that actually come out and play it. And it's like a great Sasquatch logo, and Manzanita and Highlands out on the coast of Oregon. They've done a great job of doing, the Sir Eldrick and the bird that they've got out there. And so what are some of your favorite projects that you have worked on that side of things that you've been most proud of?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like probably the two sort of kind of higher profile ones right at the top are both the Pebble Beach projects, honestly. I think really because they're just kind of unique for such a heralded place. I mean, it wasn't like they asked us to redo the logo for the Pebble Beach course there in the ocean, but when they were redoing their par 3 course and Tiger Woods involved, and there was a bit of a name change, and it's going to be this incredible place for juniors and guests of the resort, and kind of get up to snuff and stepped in line with high quality par 3 courses that other resorts have around the country. I mean, that one was really cool, and that was the hay and the seal and holding the flag in its mouth, and that was inspired by an old vintage photo from the Pebble Beach company from like the 50s. So that was really sick. And then following up with that, they asked us if we wanted to help on the women's US Open logo for this year. And that was a huge challenge and a huge honor, honestly, because, I doubt anyone even knows we did that logo, but they've been proudly displaying that for the last 2 years since we completed it. And I think it's a really cool, fresh, modern, youthful, feminine, take on the classic tree and water scene. And so those two really, really were kind of benchmark high water marks, I think, for what we love to do, which is historical archival inspiration with a dash of modern, and something that's gonna work and resonate for years to come.
Yeah, and I know that I'm originally from Atlanta, but I lived in DC for about a year. I didn't play much golf at the time, but one of the things that I immediately purchased was, because I think didn't you do the East Langdon logo, Ian? Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. Langston. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that one was so cool because I just love the iconography, right? It's got with the Lincoln Memorial and then the Washington Monument. I wear that and people are like, "What is that?" I'm like, it's
the East Potomac logo you're talking about.
East Potomac, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
East Potomac.
Yeah, that one.
That one's so cool.
Thank you. I mean, that one. The clubhouse at East Potomac is like this does look like a miniature version of the Lincoln Memorial. Basically, it looks like a memorial. It's got the columns and it's sort of like long and perfectly symmetrical, and so that logo is the clubhouse, but it also works as sort of this kind of very obviously DC sort of building and architecture. And when you're coming up the 9th hole on the blue course, I mean, the Washington Monument's peeking up over the left corner of the clubhouse there. And so, and the phrase that I came up with for East Potomac was a monument to municipal golf. And so, through the logo and the clubhouse is a miniature monument, and the golf course itself is supposed to be this, this ideal of what municipal golf could and should be for this country. And so that was a really fun mark. I'm glad you dig that one. It looks really good on a white flag. I was admiring it today.
Well, yeah, it's just because I have a tour visor with the Hay logo, and then I have a tour visor with that one, and then after the fact, I was like, so now because I have a Sugarloaf and non-Sugarloaf visor section, I moved them both over because I was like, well, they're both designed, so I'm just going to include this in my Sugarloaf collection. But I guess there's a reason why logos sort of resonate, because it's from the same ethos,
Ashton,
right?
We're going to have to now go to the U.S. Women's Open, and we're going to have to get merch and find a tour visor for you so you can add it to the collection.
Oh, let me know if you guys go. I don't have any merch with that logo on it yet, but I think it's sick. So I'm just waiting for their, I don't know, maybe their online shop.
We'll figure out a way to get something out there and send it your way, Ian.
Yeah. Well, I live in the Bay Area, so I've got no excuse. So I'll certainly keep an eye. Well, cool. Well, Ian, we have some other kind of questions about Sugarloaf that we'll talk about later, but it's perfect timing because a lot of what we like to talk about is public golf and the courses we've played. And around the time we were setting this up, you posted kind of your 2022 superlatives. I know you went on a kind of a big trip around the holidays. would just kind of love to hear, we can kind of run down the list, but would love to hear about some of these places because the pictures looked amazing, but would love to hear some, beyond just the blurb on Instagram, what kind of really resonated with you for the courses you've played. So I guess we can start off with the trip around the holidays. I saw you were down near Pinehurst. You want to tell us a little bit about that trip?
Yeah, so that trip actually was one of our business partners, Matt Bertelli, was down there with some pals, and yeah, he went with just some guys from National Links Trust and some other friends from the DC area, and so they just played Tobacco Road and Southern Pines and Pine Needles and kind of the standard hits down there. And honestly, we get down to the Pinehurst area a couple times a year, so it's kind of a second or third home at this point, sort of thing. And I was down there in February of last year and, got to see, if I have to like bring up anything on this podcast from down there, that's super current, it would be, the Southern Pines restoration by Kyle Franz is just like off the charts, cool and good. And, Mid Pines was probably already like one of my favorite courses in the world. And Pine Needles was like probably one of the most special courses to me in the world. And so once they purchased and up leveled Southern Pines to give this incredible trifecta, sitting right next to already other masterpieces in 4 and 2 and Tobacco Road. I mean, that area is just absolutely ridiculous. And, Southern Pines is competes with them, all of those on every level for sure.
Yeah, I just listened to the last episode of Yoke with Doke that they did on the Fried Egg, and he was talking about number 10 that they're just about to start breaking ground on this year. And the turnaround time on that is ridiculous. He was saying that by next summer, it should be fully done, ready to open, because I guess they want to have it ready for when they're going to host the is it the PGA or US Open that's going to be out there next year or 2 years from now?
US Open. 2024
2024
US
US Open.
Yeah.
So
it's basically going to be at Pebble Beach or Pinehurst forever.
Yeah, but they're literally trying to turn around this course, have it built, grass, ready to play for all the visitors that are going to be coming for that, which I think is absolutely insane that Tom Doak is going to be able to do that. But I'm sure you've got to be pretty excited that somebody like Doak, being a guy that gets down there so often, is adding another one to the repertoire of the excellent courses in that area.
Yeah, and I have no inside information, but I don't think they'll stop at 10 either. I mean, there's more land down there, there's more sand. I mean, even if it's beyond the Pinehurst company, there's every incentive for folks to build more and more courses in that area. So, to say nothing, the fact that I didn't even mention Dormant Club is right around the corner. So, I mean, getting, it's putting with Court Crenshaw already in that area, and obviously Donald Ross's fingerprints everywhere, and the Strantz, kind of pinnacle of his oeuvre down the road. I mean, Doak probably was looking to kind of hang a Pinehurst area course on his mantle, and I can't wait to see it. I mean, I think it's on the old pit piece of land, which, from what I understand, was like the original Tobacco Road or whatever, sort of this like, really interesting and wild and different, and kind of took some risks. And I'm sure the land sort of lent itself to that. So, if it really is hilly and sandy and with some water features, I mean, yeah, it's going to be cool.
Well, yeah, and the rumor has it that the Jones family actually had the rights to build the course originally out there, which, me being an Artec guy, I'm glad that they didn't get the opportunity to build a course there, and that Tom is getting out there to build it, because we all know, I mean, there's some good and bad with the Jones boys, but I just think that with that type of land and topography, I think Tom Doak is the right person to lay his stamp there and build it. I don't know if I would be too enthralled to see a Reese Jones track out at Pinehurst.
Yeah, I don't know if you're baiting me into saying that like Reese Jones courses are horrible or something like that, but I mean, it's no secret that the people have spoken, and the market has decided that we're looking for unique, creative, fun golf, and not bunkers right and left at 260 and, straight and narrow sort of penal situations. So, Doak is a master router, and I mean, these guys just seem to keep getting better. Like, I don't know, there's like no stopping the golf world right now. I mean, there must be, you know, 15 projects in the works that are going to be competing for top 50 spots and rankings, in this country. So, it's insane. Like, we're truly blessed. Like, we're living in, the second golden age here. And I think history is going to look back on this period and be like, holy smokes, there were, hundreds of incredible courses and people, developers taking risk and investing in all these nooks and crannies of the country, and folks willing to travel to them. And I think, if you guys and Sugarloaf play any small part, it's just keeping the, the lower end of the golf ecosystem jazzed about, going exploring, and then, maybe when they have a few extra clams in their pocket, heading out to these places. So, it's all good things, man. Golf is healthy.
Yeah, I promise.
Yeah, and that's
go
what,
ahead, Ashton.
Well, I was saying I think that's the whole reason we honestly wanted to start this podcast, was trying to shed some light on, the courses that most people who, do not have a private club can play. But then to your point, with the money you're quote unquote, saving from not being at a private club, it's like, Bandon becomes doable, going and seeing Cabot becomes doable. And so I think that's, it's something that really resonates with us. And to your point, now that post-COVID for me, going back down this golf rabbit hole and, reading books about architecture, it's like, I just feel my brain firing in a way that it never has about anything, frankly. And it's just so cool though, that like, I'm sure for art people, they can go see the Mona Lisa and that does something, but it's like, I'm reading the book about Bandon right now. And in, 6 weeks, I'm going to be standing on the tee at Pacific Dunes, and like, that's really fucking cool, right? Like, I get to see this stuff and experience this stuff, and that's why the game's amazing, right? You're there with your buddies, you're with your friends, but you get to like putt on these greens and see these vistas, and I don't know, it's the best.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's few corollaries out there for like why golf is so amazing, but like you will never be able to play them all, and I think that sort of treasure box, like it's like this library with all these incredible books of knowledge. You just cannot, get to them all in your lifetime. And that's, if you caught the bug, I mean, you're just like, it just keeps it going, man. Like every year I get like reinvigorated for, what's next. Like there's so much, I haven't seen, and I've seen a lot. So it's like, where can we go? Like, what can we do? And, I want to get back to places too. And Bandon is a religious, a religious place. And I think like, Mike Kaiser is our Lord and Savior, basically. Report back. I'm keen to hear your thoughts.
I also think like guys like you and me, Ian, because I'm definitely like a treasure hunter like yourself. I sought out about 3 years ago that I was going to try to play every public golf course on the West Coast. So I mapped out every single course. It was like 1,198 courses. And I've played close to little over 600 of those courses. Wow. So, and some good, some not even going to mention their names, and then just some absolute hidden gems. And I think for guys like us, it's great to find those places because it's like trading cards where, if I'm visiting an area and you're like, hey, you got to check out this place and this place and this place. And it's the same if like you came to the Pacific Northwest, I'd be like, I've got a list of places that you've got to check out. And so it's really fun, the camaraderie for guys that love the public golf side of things, that want to show you and create those experiences, with you, or just hear your experiences when you visit those courses that you might not have heard of that someone recommended, is one of my favorite parts about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's every year there are places that will surprise me, or I had never even heard of, that are only an hour away. I mean, it's just like I said, like the world of golf, it's endless. And you're right. There's some stuff out there that's just, not worth your time for sure. But I mean, when you stumble on these places that they don't even know they're cool, and you're like, feel like you're uncovering something for the first time, or like you're some alien outsider who's landed on this, foreign planet that's never seen anyone from outside orbit. And it's like, that's like you never know. You just never know if it's going to be cool or not. It's always worth it to go check stuff out. And yeah, I mean, it's, it sounds like you have a really good group of guys you're sharing stuff with. And I think like, where, we saw Instagram and even our hidden gem map is a great way to sort of like be a repository for information and to sort of encourage people to go on an adventure or drive an hour, or seek out something weird that they didn't really feel an incentive to do before. So yeah, it's awesome, man. I mean, you got me jazzed up to play some G. Hit the
Hey,
boat.
you're gonna have to come experience Pacific Northwest, because when you were explaining or talking about Maine and going out onto the islands and playing the 9-hole course, I was like, he needs to come to the Puget Sound, because that's basically what you're gonna do. Is there's all these tiny little islands throughout the Puget Sound that you take ferries to all these different islands, and they all have their home 9-hole courses scattered across the Puget Sound, and they don't see a lot of visitors, and they're always excited when people come from outside the area to experience it, because it's just local people that run the track over and over and over again, and that's where they call home, and that's their drinking hole, and that's everything to them. And so they're always so happy to have anybody from outside come visit. And you're definitely going to have to come check out the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, I've never even considered that area. I'm going to be on Google Earth for the next hour just looking at all that now.
Check out Peninsula Golf Club.
That's a pro tip.
Peninsula Golf Club. You can see Canada from the course. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's not a Sarah Palin joke, even though he made that joke when he talked about it.
Oh man, remember her? Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we get into the superlatives, Ian?
Sure.
So, Muni of the Year, Buffalo Dunes. Tell us about Buffalo Dunes.
Yeah, it is this Muni south of a town called Garden City. I believe it's in Kansas, correct? Let's see. It is absolutely like unbelievable piece of land, no homes around it. Was just kind of a run of the mill course for a very long time. Had a bunch of trees, but the land is like sandy dunes land, like on the edge of like rolling farm hills. And so the superintendent, his name's Clay Payne, he was at Dismal and Ballyneal for a minute, and this is the track he grew up on. And he, I was encouraged by a few folks that I really trust, like, you got to go see this place. Like what Clay and his team are doing at this Muni in Kansas is absolutely incredible. And basically he has taken, on a beer budget, like doing a restoration that looks like prairie dunes, basically. Like it is just, it's beautiful, wide fairways, native grasses, rough and like wonderfully sculpted bunkers and beautiful greens. And so like, yeah, imagine if Prairie Dunes and the Prairie Club and Ballyneal were like a $30 public course, basically. And they're only about a third to halfway done with this restoration. And I was already like, wow, this is going to be something incredibly, incredibly special. And so, it's, I hope to post some more pictures. Definitely going to do a nice little video recap on our page. And I think it's going to be one of those. I mean, there's so many quality munis right now, and a lot of munis doing restorations as well. And this one is up there for that sort of like ideal Americana, like middle America Dunesland aesthetic. And what they're going for is to sort of be the public offering to Prairie Dunes, which is hours away for sure. But in that part of the country, like driving 3 hours is just like a normal afternoon commute. So it's it's a special spot. I mean, it's one of my kind of favorite things I've seen in a long time, and just the passion that Clay has demonstrated behind the restoration and sort of the very like ecological ways going about things, and like how the maintenance is going to be, he's doing this affordably cheap, very affordable, and it's also going to be more affordable to run once he's done with it too. So that was super special. I mean, it's traveling. On that trip I traveled from Denver and flew out of Oklahoma City, so I spent a lot of windshield time and didn't see a lot of people. And like, I was halfway through this trip and I rolled into Garden City and I was like, I don't know what I've gotten myself into. I'm like, it is in the middle of nowhere. It's a big town for that area, but I felt incredibly isolated, and showing up there that morning with a box of donuts and Clay and his team welcomed me. I mean, it's a cool place. And I would encourage everyone to put it on their list. Probably, 2 years from now it'll be finished, and probably is worth the trip, honestly.
Yeah, it's like I feel like how now I feel like Wild Horse has been like the place where it's like everyone's like, if you're not going out and playing Wild Horse, you're just missing out. Like that's probably the course I want to play the most.
Yeah, I think Wild Horse is like easily in my top 10, and Buffalo Dunes is like they are and think of themselves as like a peer to Wild Horse when they'll be done with what they're doing. So Wild Horse is like Shinnecock, man. It's absolutely incredible. Like, it's probably the firmest course I've ever played. And yeah, I mean, the only downside, I usually don't gripe about this stuff, but there are homes dotted like a Monopoly board around Wild Horse, and it's like, I got to give it a knock somewhere. But like, other than that, it is easily in my top 10 for like a perfect architectural and maintained golf course.
Oof, it's on the list. We're so excited.
Yeah, just look at it on Google Earth. Like, you would just be like, no kidding.
Yeah, Chris basically hasn't played any golf out. Like, yeah, he's Mr. West Coast, and that's great. But like, he's basically never left the West Coast. So, as we develop this thing, we're going to get him to fly a little bit east and show him that there's good golf everywhere. So
amazing.
I was out in Chicago, and so
Chicago, that's
literal
right. For
second
work, though,
I had
for work.
I went out and played golf and experienced as much as I possibly could. Like, one day I drove up to Lasonia and played courses out there. I went out and played the Notre Dame track and got to experience that. I got to play.
You did not tell me this.
Yeah, I got to play Ravislow.
You played the Core Crenshaw Notre Dame.
I got to go play the Ravislow, which is a Donald Ross track as well, which there's just a lot of really good golf. I wish I was there for a lot longer, and I was working while I was there. So every second I had, I went out and went. And Ashton, I'm almost positive I called you when I was in Chicago on my way back from Notre Dame and mentioned it, but you might not have remembered.
No, we're officially in a fight. We're just gonna move along, and we'll talk about that at a later date. Ian, surprise of the year, is it Woodmont Country Club? It's CC Country Club. Is that right?
Definitely not a public course. Very much a private club. But I think I live in Northern Virginia, in the Washington D.C. area, and Congressional and Chevy Chase and Columbia and TPC Potomac. I mean, these, there's not a ton of golf in the area, and what's here is like very, very high end, and like the private clubs are pretty impenetrable, if you're not already part of the club. So don't get a ton of opportunities to play those courses, and when I do, I always jump at it. And Woodmont was one that just never sort of like captured my interest, frankly, because I just thought it was just kind of like the lesser of those 4 or 5 or 6 big hitters in the DC area. And one of my new buddies invited me out there, and it was like absolutely, I love all sorts of courses, and like there's a certain echelon that are like the big ones, like the 36 hole plus type private places. And this absolutely blew my mind. I mean, they've had a recent renovation. Um, all the facilities were incredibly, luxe and top notch. And again, this is not something I'm normally like drawn to, but it just was like, it was so welcoming, and it had these incredible facilities, and the golf course was super good. Like, there's a reason why they play a US Open, regional qualifier there every year. And the guys apparently just absolutely love this place. And I totally get it now. And I don't know if you watched the women's US Open, women's US Amateur a few years ago, but it was incredibly riveting, and that course looked incredible on TV. So, I don't know. It just sort of really stood out to me as like a fun, private, one of those big 36 hole clubs, which sometimes can just, they're almost too big for their own good. But this one had all their, buttons buttoned up. And, I think the cherry on top was that they had just opened a par 3 course that literally like resembles the Cradle at Pinehurst. I mean, it just kind of sits in this bowl and has some double greens and just like crazy stuff and gnarly bunkers in the middle of greens and a bit of a choose your own adventure vibe. And I mean, to kind of infuse, a more classic country club with something fun like that just kind of shows, the trend and direction of like what people are looking for, even from a private sense, out of their golf experience. And so like that was heartwarming as well. And so I don't know, it just stuck with me as like, a place that did things really, really well. And I had a great day. And yeah, not a ton more to say other than that. And just if people get a chance in the DMV to play Woodmont, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, my dad's a member at Atlanta Athletic Club, and I mean, not only is the golf course a big ballpark, but to your point, like when you have the 36 hole, it's like I feel like the driving range is like bigger than most golf courses. Like you just like pull in there, and it's like every time I'm home for the holidays, my dad will kind of look at me and be like, "What?" And I'm just like, "This place is fucking huge, man!" Like it's like I'm just I'm out here playing my public golf in California, and like their driving range has like undulation and all this shit. I'm just like, it's crazy at those places where there's that much land and that much going on. Practice facility, par 3, all that stuff.
It is wild. And I mean, it's, it's as much as I'm, totally in love with finding these, furry, dusty, Niners in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's nice to be, treat yourself once in a while to a filet mignon. So that was my like, nice, Michelin experience of the year, I guess.
I will admit, us diner guys do occasionally go to an upscale 5-star restaurant. So, we can admit that we definitely do get the invite occasionally and get to experience some of those, but totally get there. But vibe of the year, pronounce that for me. Is it Sconset?
Sconset, Skinner's, Sconset. It's got a couple names, and like, yeah, it's this little 9-hole muni public course on Nantucket, which is like absolutely one of like my favorite places I've ever been in my life. And it's definitely caters an island that caters to the upper crust, but I mean this little tiny niner, and I encourage people to like even try to find it on Google Earth, because it's sort of like tucked in between 2 other very fancy golf courses. And yeah, it's just it's like a community course that's just, I don't even know if they have like fairway irrigation, and it might be hand watering greens, and it's got this tiny little breezy clubhouse with no air conditioning, kind of sitting up on a bluff and overlooking the course, and you can hear the ocean, and windows are open and Adirondack chairs everywhere. And it's just, boards are creaking, and it's an incredibly special place. And, it's hard to describe without, going and looking at some of the photos that we posted, but there's a bit of like a culture there too. And, some of the irreverent signs hanging on the wall that have been there forever, like nuisance golfers will be asked to leave the property and all this sort of interesting things. So, yeah, I mean, it was kind of like this perfect, it was like a perfect place for me, right? Because it was a short 9-hole course that was public, but just felt, 1,000 years old, and everyone, all walks of life from the island, were sort of enjoying it, and super family friendly, and kids running around. And I mean, I was on island with my family and my 1-year-old at the time, and when he was napping for 90 minutes in the middle of the day, I would just go there every day during the vacation. So yeah, it's a special place, and they've really put a lot of effort in to make it really charming and quaint, and have all the vintage trophies and photo albums and books kind of accessible to visitors. And it sort of is one of the most, it reminds me of a time that I wasn't around, but like of this, like the gilded age of America, sort of leisure seeking, in the 30s or whatever. And it's just like a little time capsule, and it's just a super cool place. And I was incredibly comfortable, even though there were millionaires and billionaires probably walking around, and it was only $35 to play. So it kind of was this Venn diagram of just kind of a perfect golf hang for me, and that's why we gave it Vibe of the Year.
That sounds like one of the best places ever to spend a holiday with your family. Because I mean, and you know what? It kind of reminds me of kind of like trip to the Hamptons for people from New York, or Jersey Shore for the Jersey people, and Atlantic City. It's those places that people actually, it's what Europeans get now, where they get multiple months off, and you go on vacation and you stay somewhere for multiple months. Americans decided that we no longer were going to do that. But that time is something that would have been so amazing to bring back to modern day. Because I think we all could take a deep breath sometimes, and exit our lives and just be in a time capsule for a small time, and just energize the batteries. And I think that's the kind of place that everybody should have in their back pocket to kind of sneak away once in a while.
Yeah, that was actually really well said. I mean, I didn't even totally consider that, but like when I was there, it's like I wasn't on my phone or checking Instagram. I was just sort of like, it was the one time all year that I just like sat on a golf course and just like let my shoulders, relax, and just kind of felt the breeze and listened to the murmurs of the families, finishing their rounds, and soft hum of music from the clubhouse. And yeah, it was just like, I think, the downside to Sugarloaf is that when I'm going to a golf course, I mean, it's like, it's hard not to consider that, work or a content opportunity, right? And so to have these day over day time at a place where I, I'd gotten all the photos I needed or whatever, and just to enjoy golf kind of for like once in the year where I wasn't making something and just could just take it in, was, you're right. That is a special moment. And I, if I have a goal for this year, it's like, maybe don't take the camera to some golf rounds and just kind of play golf like you used to, kid. So, yeah, well said.
Yeah. Okay, so this one, at least in the comments, seemed to be a little bit chippy. The par 3 course of the year at the Chalk Mine. But people had a lot of opinions about this, but I saw a couple people. I think there was one that said, I forgot the course, but it was like, why is this not blank? And you were responding like, there's a lot of great par 3 courses these days, but tell us about the Chalk Mine.
Yeah, I think any chippiness around the Chalk Mine is probably because, like, it's definitely like private, but the use case of it is incredibly earnest. Like, it's for the First Tee program of Aiken. So like it's like a course built for junior golfers, like exclusively, and the University of South Carolina Aiken's men and women's golf team. So it's like, it's this incredible practice range. It's, first of all, it's in Aiken, which is like a wonderful, becoming a golf haven, and already was really kind of a golf mainstay for interesting topography and good soil, and lovely climate, and right across the river from Augusta. So just a great intersection for East Coast golf. And, Aiken Golf Club is, one of our favorite places and probably, the first ballot Hall of Famer for a hidden gem list. And the guy behind that went and built this, down the road, a par 3 course and a practice facility for junior golfers, basically. And it's like completely hidden. And it was definitely pretty new at the time. And I basically just like parked on the road and like walked through the woods and luckily found it. Like I couldn't even, Google Earth wasn't even updated yet. So I couldn't even figure out where it was. And, he built this 9-hole par 3 course. The holes are, 60 to 115, 130 yards. And it's wonderful. It's in like this roly-poly, maybe an old mine where there's exposed rock and tons of sand. And it's a little bit like old world woods. It's a little bit Pine Valley, and it's 100% adorable and tiny and quick and fun. And, I think, sometimes Sugarloaf sending a really nice note to people allows you access to places, and potentially this, there will be open opportunities for folks to go play there. But, I don't know, I thought it was a really cool concept where it's like a dedicated junior golf facility that had an emphasis on creative architecture. And so, really, really cool spot, and was really fortunate to get to see it.
And so that leads us to the last part of your superlatives, which is the most anticipated for next year. So Cabot Citrus Farms, I know the Cliffs has been a just mind-blowing, thing in the golf industry. Everybody has kind of covered that. So tell us a little bit about Citrus Farms. I don't think I or Ashton have done kind of any research on that new course.
Yeah. So not to take, any more minutes from the podcast here, but it's a bit of a kind of a personal lengthy story here, because this property that the Cabot Group has purchased was originally called Worldwoods as of, this time last year, basically. And Worldwoods was near and dear to my heart. Not only did I travel down there during the winter when I was a kid to play in junior golf tournaments, and was like, my mind was blown because some Japanese developers hired Tom Fazio to build a Pine Valley and Augusta National in, an hour north of Tampa. Like that was just an absolutely incredibly cool thing for me as a kid growing up in Chicago and kind of only seeing like oak-lined, country club courses. When we moved to Florida when I was 16, my folks only lived an hour from there, and I ended up working after college for the congressman who represented the district that area that course was in. And so, played Pine Barrens, which was the better of the two courses at the Worldwoods, hundreds of times. And it was just one of my all-time favorite places. They call it the poor man's Pine Valley. And, year over year, it kind of came on hard times and was looking a little rough, and was still, still loved it, of course. But, when the news broke that Cabot was buying this heralded property, which, was definitely a top 100 course at one time in the 90s, and this huge piece of land that has sand and live oaks, and like, I don't know, it's kind of a unique thing. It's like if, Kaiser had bought, a property that was once famous, and instead of building something from scratch. But I think what Cabot saw, and their track record is unassailable. Like, they do incredible things. So it's a bit of a happy, sad moment for me. Like, on one hand, like my beloved Pine Barrens is going away. On the other hand, the potential best people in golf to develop anything are buying like my favorite place. So, luckily, they gave me the opportunity when I was down visiting my parents for Christmas to sneak out there for half a day. And Mr. Kelso showed me around the property, and they are building completely new, new golf courses. They're going to be on the Pine Barrens property specifically, which is Kyle Fran's design. There are some, homages to the Pine Barrens course that was there, and some familiar corridors, but also some incredible new stuff that he's reimagined. And I mean, this like I wish I could share the renderings of what he showed me of what's coming, and they'll be out soon in the press. But I mean, it's like I can't even like describe it other than like now it actually is like Pine Valley, but like on steroids. And I mean, there's like triple fairways and incredible like greens and bowls and pimples and nooks and crannies, and it's just like I just wait till you see these renderings. I think they're coming out in the end of this month, after the PGA Show announcements. So it's going to be a special place, and they're building two 18-hole proper big boy golf courses that are going to rival likes of Sand Valley and Bandon, and they've got a 9 or 10-hole short course, 11-hole par 3 course, driving range, maybe there's more golf in the future, huge clubhouse, cabins. So it's going to be to the nines sort of facility, no doubt about it. So with that comes a new price tag, which is appropriate with something that's going to easily be a top 15 public course in the country. So yeah, it's like I said, it's just this weird feeling. It's this happy sad is all I can say, basically, because my favorite place ever is going to be even better, and like it's hard to come up with an analogy for that.
Your best friend got a Lamborghini or something like that.
Yeah.
Or sort of like your best friend. Yeah, I don't know. That's incredible. That's really, really cool. I mean, obviously, Cabot Cliffs is very much on the list for us, because Chris and I haven't done, at least not together. We spent one day at Bandon, but we have not kind of gotten to do kind of I don't know if this is considered resort. It sounds like it, but just those like objectively amazing higher dollar value trips. But as we get older, I think that's more in the cards. And again,
Modern
I just want to
get,
yeah, exactly. So Ian, we know it's late for you, so we have a couple quick hitters. One thing I'm really curious about for you is we talked to Andy Johnson recently. You talked about solo golf trips, and for me, Chris, I have a full-time job. Chris has a full-time job and a baby. So when I think golf trips, I think this is a great way to maximize time with my friends. However, I've done travel by myself. And like, for example, when my family was being annoying in 2019, I went to Mexico City for Thanksgiving by myself. And it was one of the best trips I've ever done. So I'm curious for you, I know you have a young family. How do you balance like, I got to go hang out with the boys versus like, I need to go drive around Kansas by myself. Like, how do you balance that as a golf psycho who has, a house and a family, and like how do you balance that?
I need these tips, Ian.
Yeah. This is where it turns into a therapy session.
Just for some context, my son just turned 2 years old. So I have one kid, he just turned 2. So like anyone out there who has, young kids you ain't golfing those first like 3-6 months. I mean, it's just like, it's so much harder than
that's where I'm at right now, Ian. I'm 2.5 months in.
Okay. Well, you're in the black hole. I can't believe you're even like able to like open your eyes and talk right now. It's incredible. You're ahead of schedule. And say nothing of the fact that like, moms like, not to get too deep, but they go through this incredible like experience and this miracle. And it's like, I can't even put myself in their shoes, to begin with. And then they're expected to take care of this baby. So, we need to be around and need to help out. And it's honestly like all you want to do too. I mean, it's this incredible, life-changing, truly experience. And so, but as the year went on, like, and this was just year one sort of thing. Like I didn't play a lot of golf last year, honestly. And I had to really pick and choose my spots. And, but I was kids 8-9 months old, and I was like, man, I have to, like, I'm going to do this like airstrike golf trip. It's going to be this, planned out to the T. I'm going to take a 10 o'clock flight so I can put the kid to bed, and I'll be home on Sunday before you wake up, sort of thing. And so, I don't have any really good trips other than, the solo tips. The solo trip just kind of came out of a necessity to, get out of the house for a few days. And I sort of like targeted a place that I thought would, deliver like high value for what I was like desperately in need of and deep in my soul. And that was Nebraska 2 years ago. And, the day to day and how to deal with family and kids and golf, like, I don't even think I'm the right person to ask, because I basically, this, it's kind of like my job to be golfing and creating content and finding nooks and crannies and telling stories. And so, I'm really, I try to balance it, and as best as I can. Like in Nantucket, for example, like I would golf when he was sleeping, sort of thing, and then she would nap too. And so, that felt like that worked pretty well. And guess what? Like short 9-hole courses and par 3 courses are like even more my new best friend, because I can knock those out, relatively quick. And so, I'm also fortunate because I get to golf during the week, and sort of reserve the weekends for family time. So, and I mean, the little guy comes with me too sometimes. I mean, if just go chip around and hit balls, or he seems to really enjoy golf and being outside and putting a ball into the hole. So, sometimes me going to chip or get out of the house for an hour and do golf stuff, and I take the kid, I mean, that's kind of like a win-win for everyone on the family team. So, yeah, that's a long non-answer. Basically, it's just really hard. And God bless people who have 2, 3, 4 kids. And I don't know how it works, other than just being very, very targeted, and make sure that it's super fair and balanced. And if you leave for 4 days, like, she better get to leave for 4 days, or you take the kid off her plate for 4 days. So it's worked out really well, and we have a good situation going here. So, but that's why, Matt, when we hired Matt Bertelli last year to help us with customer service and packing, chipping, like, one of his other jobs was like, yo, go out and make content for us. Go to Pinehurst by yourself. Like, the cherry blossoms are blooming at East Potomac. Like, I can't get out there. Like, just so, there's been some hired help too at Sugarloaf to sort of bolster our needs.
Love that. So big thing, and because me and Ashton both own a lot of your gear, we wanted to ask you, what does the motto "Play or Perish" mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's pretty familiar at this point with like the origins of where that motto came from Robert Hunter's 1926 book, The Links. But when I read that phrase, like, what I think we've all been through ups and downs, and loves and hates with this game. And I played competitive golf growing up and got burnt out multiple times, and found my soul again with the game, whether it was working at a summer camp where I was the golf instructor and just being around kids and playing with a 6-iron all summer, or when I lived in Scotland for half a year and just forgot about yardages and scorekeeping and just played match play for half a year. And so to me, it's like, it's just keep going. Like, just keep, like, if you're ever frustrated, whether it's I haven't played golf in a long time, like, I'm never gonna get to go to a cool place, or like kind of manifest your own destiny. So it's like, just play is like, just keep going, or you're just gonna the other alternative is just like wither and just give up, and like that's like unacceptable, basically. So whether it's chipping in your basement into your couch pillow, or planning 18 months from now that perfectly specced out dream trip, and saving up the funds and making sure your family's in order, and the job's lined up, and like, it's I've seen multiple people reach out to us who are just starting to play, or had stopped playing for a long time, or found a new corner of the game to love. And it's just a really all-encompassing sort of like motto to just keep going, man. Just like chipping or full game, like just keep putting that club in your hand, and good things will happen.
I love it. And then, like, the last thing we have to ask is, you've done a lot of cool stuff. Do you have a personal favorite drop you've ever done, or like the piece that when you look in I bet you have a closet full of crap. Well, not crap. You know what I'm saying by crap.
Yeah.
You have a lot of stuff. Do you look at it and you're like, that's the thing? I'm just like, I fucking love that thing.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I don't like some stuff. Like I wish I had. Like I don't even get because it's so limited. Like I, don't get to keep everything. Basically, I mean, I'm pretty forward looking with the merch. I mean, when you sort of outlined that question, I kind of went back through our archives and I was like, yeah, this is all awesome. I also feel like we haven't even started yet, honestly, in some respects. And so, to pick a few pieces, I mean, the Mackenzie stuff always gets me going just because it's kind of world's your oyster from this like very specific canvas, and you can put any color, design, whatever on it. And so, growing up sailing, some of those sail bags we've done are pretty epic, I think. Those are really fun. They always come out super unique and cool. And, some of the grips we've come out with recently, like, is kind of a, like, awesome manifestation of, like, well, if Sugarloaf has grown over the years, we're able to sort of place some bets on some bigger projects and doing a custom mold for a grip, which is like thousands of dollars, and then ordering, thousands of grips. And so that's something that I would have never dreamed of 4 years ago, but it's like, what future projects, big things can we pull off? And, I don't know. It's impossible question to answer. I mean, on the design side of things, like we've done some incredible like scorecards. Like I love designing scorecards. Like I don't know if those are merch drops per se, but we brought back a vintage card for Yale, many years ago, and the Pinehurst #2 card, and for Sweetens Cove event did a really fun scorecard, and it helped Zach Blair with some scorecards for the Ringer, and I don't know, some of that stuff is like brings me a lot of personal satisfaction. But yeah, I think the best is yet to come on the merch stuff. I honestly don't even feel like we've scratched the surface personally.
Well, I'm going to send you an email with a newly created PO box where you can send all this stuff so that Liz will never know. But I'll tell you, one of the things, obviously, I love that you guys add the little supplemental gifts. My personal that I'm holding up right now is the Transfusion car air freshener, because I think actually it's the first time I ever like post about this, and I was like, is this grape? And I think you or whoever was on social media was like, oh, it's a Transfusion one. I was like, oh my God, it's a car air freshener that smells like a Transfusion. That is some big brain shit right there, my man. I
think Harrison, our partner Harrison, calls it like, they're like Happy Meal toys, and so we love to throw in, stickers is pretty common and pretty much a mainstay, but like from the air freshener to, I think we did like a stymie gauge ruler one time to a floaty boat keychain, and we did a beach ball one year in some products, and just kind of like, they're like the Happy Meal toy that little surprise and delight in there. So we'll run back the air fresheners. That's a good one.
Yeah, I had it in my car. I'm not going to lie. After one day, I got back in the car and I was like, I think I'm going to let this chill on the smell, and then I'm going to put it in my office because my car smelled like fucking straight up like grape Jolly Rancher. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, they don't hold back on the air freshener scents for sure.
No. Not at all. And the last thing to say to everybody is, we didn't talk to Ian a lot, but Ian, I know you guys just bought a golf course, and we could have talked about that. I know you talked to Andy. We didn't want to make you kind of tell that whole story again. But we encourage people to go listen to Ian's chat with Andy at the Fried Egg, because, I mean, Sugarloaf Field Club sounds like it's going to be a really special place.
Yeah, let's have another call about it at some point. I mean, it's 6 holes. Old course, Augusta National Clubhouse in the Adirondack Mountains. I mean, it's absolutely kind of a one-of quirky situation, perfectly tailor-made for, everything that we're about, and it certainly won't be our last physical manifestation of a Sugarloaf property. That's for sure.
Yeah, would love to do that down the line. But Ian, man, dude, thank you so much. This was so much fun. It was so great to get to know you, and hopefully we can, if you want to come explore the Bay Area with me or Pacific Northwest with Chris, or we throw a tournament every year at Soul Park and Ojai and Match Play, and you want to come tee it up.
We're doing
we'd love to play some golf.
Second tournament, Ryder Cups, and both of them are Ryder Cup style tournaments. we're doing a second one at the new Dan Hickson course called Bar Run in Oregon as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why there's so like how many new golf courses are opening like this? It's absolutely
Yeah.
nuts. And that one looks pretty sick, and yeah, Hickson's done some cool things. So yeah, let me know. Let me know the dates, man. Like I thought you guys were going to ask me what I have on tap this year. I have no plans so far. So let's plug some of those holes, and yeah, man.
yeah, we'll send the invite
send you some
tonight for
dates.
you.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a bunch, Ian. Have a great night, okay?
Yep.
All right, later,
See y'all.
Ian.
See ya.